Hi guys, my name is Olati. I'm the creative director for Creative Fashion. Welcome to this channel. On this channel, I share with you sewing tutorials on how to cut and sew different styles from basic bodice to advanced designs, right? So if you are new to this business, you are in the right place. And if you have been in this journey for a very long time, you are still in the right place because fashion evolves daily. So we need to keep learning every day. So I get you new styles, new ideas on how to cut and sew them, and then I drop them down in my videos. You can also check my YouTube shorts for sewing tips and arts. If I see something that I feel that you will need to see, so I drop it in my YouTube shorts. You can always check them out, right? Now I have offline students too, and I also organize online classes. So if you're interested, I'm located in Port Harcourt. My Facebook page is Purple Reality. Also on Instagram is Purple Reality Fashion. You can follow me on those pages on Facebook and Instagram to see like picture tutorials on how to cut and sew different styles, or when I share styles ideas for you to see. Okay, so if you have not subscribed to the channel, please kindly go and subscribe right now so that you get notified whenever I upload a new video. And you can also click on the notification bell so that you get notified immediately whenever I upload a new video. So let's get started for today's class, right? So guys, I welcome you once again to this channel. In this video, we'll be learning how to cut a basic blouse body, like from scratch, a basic blouse body. So if you have not subscribed to the channel, please kindly subscribe to the channel. Now what you need is just your marker or your pen, your pencil, your tape, and then your pattern master. I can see that mine, this is mine. Okay, so I'm going to start with the shoulder measurement, and I kept my paper on fold because okay, I kept the paper on fold for the two, right, the front and the back. Now this is the starting point on the paper. I'm going to be marking the shoulder measurement. The shoulder measurement I'm working with is 15 divided by 2. So I'll put the measurement on the screen so that you see it. When you're drafting a basic body, you need your shoulder measurement, your armhole measurement, your shoulder to bust, the shoulder to waist, and the shoulder to blouse length. And then you need the round blouse measurement and the round bust measurement, the round waist measurement, and the round blouse length measurement. That's where the length of the blouse stops. Okay, now the shoulder measurement is divided by 2. For instance, the shoulder measurement I'll be using is 15 divided by 2 is 7.5 plus 0.5 that I'll be using to join the sleeve to the bodies. Okay, so that's 8. Then the armhole measurements I'm working with is 17. I measured my armhole. When I'm working with the customer's clothes, so I measured the customer's armhole. So the armhole I'm working with is 17 divided by 2 is 8.5. Okay, then the shoulder to bust I'm working with is 10.5. The shoulder to waist is 16.5. The shoulder to blouse length is 23. Then I'll need 1.5 seam allowance at the end. Okay, so you divide the bust by 4, the round bust by 4, and then you divide the round waist by 4 and the round blouse length by 4. So those are the measurements we are going to be putting right now. Now, like I said, the shoulder is divided by 2, which is 7.5 plus ½ inch seam allowance. It will give me 8. Then the armhole measurements, I measured my armhole is 17 divided by 2 is 8.5. In a situation whereby you did not measure the person's armhole, I'm going to show you another way of going about it. But okay, so let me just mark my 8.5. For in a situation where you do not mark the person's armhole, for the front shoulder slant we have 1.5. Okay, so you go down by the 1.5, then you now use your bust, the bust divided by 6 plus 1 or plus 1.5. The bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. Mine is 36 divided by 6 will give me 6 plus 1.5 is about 7.5. So when I've come down by 1.5. So when I place like this, I have this 7.5 here. So it's a bit longer than my actual, it's just like ½ inch longer than my actual round armhole, but you should still go. Okay, so you can also use that method in a situation whereby you do not measure the person's armhole measurement, so you can plus with 1 or 1.5. So let me repeat that again. When you don't measure the person's armhole, you're going to come down for the front by 1.5. The shoulder slant for the front is 1.5. Then use your bust divided by 6 plus 1 or plus 1.5. So like let's say now my bust divided by 6 is 6 plus 1 is 7. So I'll be on the right track if I use that. So or if you plus it by 1.5. So if I plus by with 1, it's correct. Okay, that way it's correct. All right, so that's another method. Now I'm placing the ham hole. I place the ham hole divided by 2, so I'm going to form a straight line. So using this my method, I just did arm hole divided by 2. Then this shoulder measurement that I have here, which is 8, I'm going to place it here also to form a straight line. So how did I come about this line? From here to here, I measure my shoulder divided by 2, the shoulder divided by 2. Then from here to here is the armhole divided by 2, armhole divided by 2. So and now after I've gotten this armhole divided by 2, on this point I now put the shoulder measurement again in order to be able to connect to this one, so that I'll be able to draw out the armhole line. All right, so you can see that it's very simple. Now the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to put the shoulder to bust measurement. This line that we have here now is our chest line. So the shoulder to bust I'm working with is 10.5. The shoulder to waist is 13.5. Oh, sorry, that's my shoulder to under bust. The shoulder to waist I'm working with is 16.5, and then the shoulder to full length is 23 plus 1.5 seam allowance. Because this is a basic blouse body, I won't be using my shoulder to under bust. Okay, so the shoulder to bust again is 10.5. The shoulder to waist is 16.5. That's the shoulder to waist for the front, and then the shoulder to full length is 23 plus 1.5 seam allowance. So I'm going to be connecting it like this. Now the next thing I'm going to do, the next thing I'm going to be doing is to put, I'll label this line. This is the bust, this is the waist, this is the full length, and this is my seam allowance. Okay. Now, on this bust line, I'm going to be putting the bust divided by 4. The bust measurement I'm working with is 36 divided by 4 is 9. So I have 9 there. Now the next measurement is the waist. The waist divided by 4. The waist measurement I'm working with is 20. Divided by 4 is 7. Then the blouse line measurement I'm working with is 37. Divided by 4 will give me 9.25. Now that 9.25, I'm going to be placing it on the sewing allowance line and not on the full length line. So I'll place it on the sewing allowance line. 9.25. That's 9.25. So I'm going to be connecting from the waist to the bust up to the chest line, then from the waist to the sewing allowance line. Okay, so it's like this. Now if you like, you may curve it a bit, but before then we're going to be putting our neckline. So to put your neckline, we have the natural neckline. The natural neckline is when you measure the neck of the person around, then you divide it by 12. So the natural, you divide by 6 rather. The natural neckline is 3. The natural neckline is 3 for adults. Okay, some is 2. By the time you divide it, you get 2.75. So you can just approximate it. So we're using 3 for adults. Now the shoulder slant for the front is 1.5. So I'm going to connect it like this. You can see. Then we need half-inch seam allowance to join the front and the back together. So I went up by half again, and then I'm still going to connect it to this same point. So this is my shoulder slant. Now we're going to be drawing the armhole. This is just how to draw your basic blouse bodies. So now after you have formed this shoulder slant, you will now measure what you have from this point, not from the hole, from this point. You measure what you have and divide it by 2 to get your midpoint, to get the midpoint. So you are measuring from this point to this point, from this your shoulder slant, this point to this point. Then you now go in by 0.75 on that spot. You go in by 0.75 on that spot. That's a 3/4, right? You go in by 3/4, and then you draw the armhole. So you're going to draw the armhole. You're just going to use your curve line. When you are placing, you make sure that it touches the point, it touches this point, it touches this point, and then it touches this point. Okay, so I'm just going to connect it. That. So you can see. Now we have our armhole. So the next thing we're going to do is to draw the neckline. Make sure that you want your neck depth to be 4 and the neck wideness to be also 4. or you can decide to make it to be bigger than that. So you're just going to connect the 2 points together like this, you can see. So here we have it. Now, like I said, you may decide to curve this point, but for you to know where to curve it, we want to draw our waist dart. Like this is just a plain blouse without a dart, okay? So you want to input a dart into this your bodice. You're going to need the nipple to nipple divided by 2. Like this, you can just use it like this to draw a free like a normal top. Then if you want it to be free, you can add ease to it. You can add ease of about 1 inch or 2 inches to it to make it free, minus the sewing allowance, because you're still going to need sewing allowance. Like this now, I've not added sewing allowance, okay? So if you can add 1.5 sewing allowance on the bust, the waist, and full length, and then you connect it like that, okay? But for this, I've not added the seam allowance. You can always write what you'll be adding. So now I want to be putting the dart if you want it to be fitted and firm. Now to put your dart, you're going to need your nipple to nipple divided by 2. The nipple to nipple that I'm working with is 7. Divided by 2 is 3.5. So I'll mark that point on the waist, and then I'll mark it on the bust, and then I'll mark it on the full length, and use it to form a straight line, 3.5. Okay, so after that, on the waist, I'll go in by 0.75 on both sides of this line. I'll go in by 0.75 on both sides of that line, and then I'll come down by 1 from the bust point, and also go up by 1 from the full length measurement. So I came down by 1 from the bust point. I mark 0.75 on both sides of this waist. That's the leg on the waist, 0.75. So you're just going to connect it in a like this. My marker seems to be going faint, okay? Okay, so that way you have been able to put your dart. So this is what you're going to be sewing. Then to make it to be fitted. Now again, you may also want to put your bust dart to add fitness at the sides of the bust. That way you're going to use the length on the shoulder to waist for the front minus the shoulder to waist for the back. My shoulder to waist for the front is 16.5, while my shoulder to waist for the back is 15.5. So what I have is just 1. Well, for some other people it's up to like 2 inches or 2.5 or 3 inches. So for mine it's just 1 inch. So I'm just going to come down from the bust by 1, and then I'll connect it to the bust here. So one of the reasons why I didn't have the seam allowance is because of this bust dart, so that by the time I cut it open, I will be cutting exactly the one. But if you have added seam allowance, when you cut open, what you'll be cutting and what you'll be taking is not up to 1 inch if you're using 1 inch. So that's why I've not added my seam allowance. So now on the body, I can just write the seam allowance I'll be adding after cutting it. So here I'll be adding 1.5 on the bust. On the waist, I'll be adding back that allowance, which is 1.5, plus my main sewing allowance, which is also 1.5. That's 3 inches. So I'll be adding 3 inches when I'm transferring to fabric. Then here I'll be adding 1.5 because I did not cut out anything here. Okay, so that is how you draft your basic blouse bodice. So I'll be drafting the back, but before then I'm just going to cut open this. I'll be showing us how to draft the back in another video because I don't want this video to be too long. So I'll just show us how this will look like when you cut, and then how it will look like when you sew it. So for this edge, you can curve it out so that here will not be sharp. So just extend your dart leg to this sewing allowance line, and then you curve this place like this. You can see, just curve it up like that. So I'm going to cut it out, and then I'll tack this I'll hold it down so that you see how it looks like. So make sure you write the allowances that you'll be adding back when you are finished when you want to cut it on the main fabric. this is the neck. I'm going to cut it off. So when you open it up, you see how it is. This is how it is. So I'll hold these darts and here so that you see the difference, how this one look with a dart and how this face. For this side I have this bust dart. I'm going to cut it. I'm going to cut the bust dart. You may as well decide to draw it as a dart and sew it, but for this tutorial I'm going to be cutting it like this. As you may decide to rule it and sew it, as you rule it as a dart and sew it, you transfer it to the fabric and sew it like you did for this one. So for this one I'm just going to gum it down. So make sure that this point rests on this line. That's just, we are assuming that we are sewing it, okay? Now for this, I'm going to pin as if I'm sewing. Okay, so I held just like you will use a carbon paper to transfer it to your fabric. This is how you're going to be sewing it on the fabric. You're going to sew on this line like this. So I'm going to be pinning it on that line. It just to show you the difference of the way, if it has a dart, the way it will look, and if it does not have a dart, the way it will look. Okay, so you can see the side. This is the side that has a dart. You can see how it's already with the waist dart and the waist dart. See how it is well fitted. See how it's fitted. Meanwhile, the one that is free, nothing, no dart, it's just plain. So that is the essence of adding a dart. So if you are doing it to be free, it's going to look free like this, and if you are doing it to be fitted, it's going to look fitted like this. Thank you for watching this video. I'll be dropping how to do the back in my next video. Please watch. If you have not subscribed, please kindly subscribe. Thank you.